Hello and welcome. What the story say? Come on in. Welcome to our new watchers. I've got new audiences. I presented a paper a couple nights ago at Cambridge University in the UK where I talked about education and storytelling. And I got some people who were interested in what I was doing. Last weekend, I spent all weekend at another conference in Japan. It's a virtual conference where I talked about finding home, telling stories and making space. At that conference, I talked about Guyana and about how I belong, what makes me belong. And I talked about the navel string. Yep, people, navel string. I talked about how they bury our navel string in the ground. And that's how we become bona fide Guyanese. And that's how I find home in Buxton Village. You know, Guyana is now 56 years of age. She getting big. It's a big woman now. Yes. And so I remember my village and my country as I spoke to the audience. I take my country and my village wherever I go because when I think and dwell, I dwell at home. When I tell these stories every Sunday, it helps me to reconnect and do what I call reciprocity for the people who have raised me and have given me the place called home. So Dean, thank you so much for the purse. I got my glasses inside and I got my pen, so I'm going to put it right here. Right, good. 56. Yes, so we're going to talk story. So welcome to everybody who is new. Sometimes I speak in English, sometimes I speak in Creolese, sometimes I code switch, code mesh, translanguage, all kinds of things I do with this language. Today it seems as though I'm going to speak English. I don't know. It depends on what's going to come out. My vernacularisms are very much on display and intentionally so. I'm not ashamed of it. I do it because it makes me who I am. It's from this beautiful land of Guyana with our own language. Yeah, we're multilingual people and we're multicultural people. Yeah, I'm proud. So I want to talk to you about something special today. Before I do that, this dress I'm wearing is Dara, my sister Dara. She made this dress for me a long time ago. I had it there waiting for independence. You see a matching? Yes. The earrings here, they're streets. I got them on the street in Africa. Yep. Nice, huh? Yeah. That's what I'm doing here today. Hair done by yours truly. And so I want to bring you stories today. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into my new book. I'm not going to tell you the name because I'll give it away. To be honest, I'm not settled on the name yet. So I'm going to share with you a couple of chapters from this book. Let me see here. Right. Okay. So I'm going to read from my computer. You see, Mother's Day just passed and I remembered, but I didn't commemorate on what the story say. I don't know why. I'm not usually so keen on celebrating it, but I found myself writing about it. The one thing I know for sure is that we all came from a mother. Isn't that something? We all came from a mother. And if you believe in the good book, it says, honor thy father and thy mother. And it has a promise that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Yeah, it's a promise. So no matter how your mother weak, as you say, your mother weak, your mother this and your mother that, is your mother. People don't have good relationships with their mothers sometimes, for whatever reason, and sometimes rightly so. There are really some issues there. But I go on the thing about honoring, right? That's how I've been raised. For you, you have other stories, maybe. So take this however you would like to take it. It's given with a good heart. So I'm going to read what I wrote a couple of weeks ago. And it's from my new book. Chapter 4. It's called Dishes. When my mother washed the dishes. In my childhood home, I stand at the kitchen sink and watch her cook and wash dishes. Her hands move over the surfaces with a dish rag we call the plate cloth. When it's soapy, she whips it over the dishes and sometimes around the legs of disobedient children looking to touch the hot stove. You know, I have never seen my mother wear gloves to do dishes. Her hands are all there is for cleaning up messes like poops and pee and spit ups and spills of the 7 children she had in the new house in which she lived. In that house, I'm the eldest. Now, when I wash dishes, I like to wear a ring that clinks on a glass, just like hers did. It's a peculiar kind of clink that makes a comforting music that only a girl watching her mom's hands would understand. How she makes a new old house home, a place of love. Chapter 5. Shampoo. Hands in my hair. Every week, I get my hair braided into cornrows. The process begins on Saturday with a good hair washing with okra leaves. This is shampoo. Okra leaves. We pick them fresh off the tree, dusting off the biting ants, black biting ants. It's a good idea to crush the leaves in half a calabash and add a little water to increase the slime. I'm 8. My mother washes my hair gingerly, massaging the slime with certainty into my hair with her fingers. It doesn't smell like store-bought shampoo, which I never knew existed until my aunt came with a pouch of yellow egg shampoo that smelled heavenly. I didn't know until I was 12. And that was when I no longer lived in the new house. It's rinsing time, and it's easy to remove the slime that grabs my schoolyard dirt and sweat out of my hair. The work is in removing the bits and pieces of the okra leaves. They come out in the drying process and not easy. My mother takes a towel and dries my hair, tousling it this way and that. She parts the front, rubs the cloth that absorbs the water. But she tangles my hair, my African hair. It's what you might call the C-type hair, with tight curls that seem to love to lock up at the slightest hint of moisture, much less a whole head washing. Immediately, my hair shrinks into a low afro that stretches like a rubber band at the pull, jumping back, reducing it to less than half its length when it's dried. My mother sits on a chair, and she seats me between her legs on the floor in front of her. She takes out a wide tooth comb, and she gently picks the strands from back to front, untangling each. Removing the knotted hair and the crushed okra leaves, she rubs in a sweet-smelling Vaseline into each part she sectioned. This is how she loves me, from my hair and my scalp. My mother says no one should touch your hair. No one should comb your hair at school. I don't understand why. I'm only 8. There's a silent conversation happening between my mother and me each time she fixes my hair. We don't speak, but I learn that between her legs is safety. That's where I run from the licks and hide from strangers. That's where I learned what a woman smells like long before I become one. That's where I learned that when a woman hums a low tune, if I stay awake long enough, I can feel the vibrations and the emotions coming through her belly and her legs as I rest my back against her body. From between her knees is where I learn how to fix my own hair, for her touch becomes mine, so much so that when I'm grown and I touch, I know what made with love should look like and should feel like. These braids I did myself. And as I braided, I felt her touch. These are the lessons I learned from my mother's touch. Chapter 6. When my mother could not braid my hair. My mother's touch was important for my growth. But by the time my younger siblings were born, my mother could not braid my hair. Her fingers hurt too much. 2 fingers on her right hand would swell up around the cuticle with what she called whittler. It's a dreaded condition of village women who would wash clothing with their bare hands and lie in the bar of Zek soap or cake soap, ravish their fingernails and skin. The fingers are rubbed raw, swollen, become pus-filled and hot. The hurt that they got was a pain that throbbed all the way to the heart. These whittler fingers become more painful when hair gets caught in the rotting nails. Some say, put burnt kerosene oil, put a whole finger in the burnt kerosene oil from the lamp and from the flambeau. It draws out the pus and heals the finger quickly. Some say, nah, pack it with medicine, different kind, put iodine, put M&B tablet, not a whole tablet, grind up the tablet, make the powder and pack it inside. Pack it with cotton ball. Taking out the cotton balls was so much trouble. Oh, that thing hurt. So she would wait for them to dry out. She couldn't fix my hair. I went to the neighbor, my cousin Donette, and got my hair braided. And that is how it stayed from Saturday to Saturday. Each night, my mother would wrap my head with a piece of cloth to keep it neat. It just wasn't me only. Many of my friends did the same thing because their mothers, like my mother, could not braid their hair. I wish she could braid my hair. I wish she could wash the clothes clean, the same way she did with the okra leaves. Chapter 7. I go to Mr. Newton's shop with a shop list in my hand, and I soon learn what it means to be poor. No one had to teach me. I wait and wait as everyone came and was served after me. He doesn't call me forward. The shoppers come and go. I'm 8, and I stand in the corner, in the shadows, near the stacks of 50-pound rice bag with salt and sugar stacked high to the ceiling. I call out to him, Mr. Newton, I have money. He turns, seems surprised. Oh, this little girl get money? I don't understand his humor, but I know it's not mirth, because not all skin teeth a laugh. African proverb. It means that not every grin is a laugh. It could be a grimace. I hold up the piece of paper, and it was in my fist, clenched tight. Around it, I had my fingers holding the dollars and coins my mother had knotted into the corner of a handkerchief so they wouldn't get lost. He takes my list that I give him and he serves me the goods. I'm 8. And I know that he understands, that I understand the relationship between poverty and service. I learned that being poor causes you to be overlooked in the presence of a shop full of people. And I feel the shame of it. And I hope he feels the same too. I look at the metal rod that pierced the stack of notes. They're all handwritten shop bits and pieces of paper, brown and lined and notebook and yellow. About this I'm sure. Several of those belong to my mother. I know. I brought them here, and he put them there. He pierced them in the middle and stacked them. Everyone can see them. Greasy, hand-worn, raggedy, by his touching, tallying, crossing off as people paid bit by bit, week by week. My mother writes down 5 tins evaporated milk, 12 loaves of bread, round, half-gallon brown rice, half-pound salt, 10 cubes, 2 pounds sugar, 4 pounds flour. She writes with my primary school pencil on the paper torn from my school exercise book. And I watched her fingers curve around the pencil, drawing the thick lead marks. Her penmanship in cursive flows on the paper, strong and comforting. She counts up the cost and may have missed something. She erases some items, adjusting it. I could read the list written in cursive before I could write that way myself. I'm just 8. And I've already written in my mind that I dislike numbers, especially shop numbers like arithmetic. My mother folds the paper. She gives me a flour sack and sends me to Mr. Newton's shop. I run barefooted. And if the shop is not filled, he takes my list, reads it, gathers the items, and places his pen marks over my mother's pencil marks on the paper and skewers the list on the metal rod that keeps record of the poverty of all the mothers in the village. At fortnight, my mother would pay because Mr. Newton would trust her and give her groceries on the list, but not always. I sometimes returned with half the amount. He decided if it were after mid-month that we would get less than half the things on the list, or sometimes not at all. He would say, "Tell your mother I can't do it, man. I can't do it." I would return with the sack in hand and tell her. At times like those, she said nothing. She would work harder in the garden, and I would take the produce to sell at the market. Soon my father would return from his job that took him away from home, and I would go to the store with cash. And Mr. Newton would smile and call me forward and serve me early. Those are my stories for today. You like? Tell your own stories and let's talk. If you want to hear more, let me know. If not, well, it doesn't matter if it's not, I'm writing. So I'll tell you more about this book when it's ready. Happy Independence. Keep the feeling alive. And I'll talk to you next time. Tomorrow afternoon around 6 p.m. New York and Canada time, I'll be on a live where I will round out the stories of the bush. So some of you asked me so many questions about bush, and I really can't answer them from my own experiences. So let's meet up tomorrow. Come on the live, share your experiences about the bush, ask questions. If you had questions about what I talked about, you can ask me, and let me do the thing. So, like and follow What the Stories Say. And remember, I'm Pauline Baird. The show is What the Stories Say. If you friend me as Pauline Baird, you're not in the show. Friend, follow the show What the Stories Say. Me and the show different, right? If you don't care for Facebook, go on YouTube. I'm there. Yeah, as What the Stories Say. Y'all follow, like, subscribe if you care to. And walk good.